The internet and social media has changed the landscape of real estate and why we now do business at a much faster pace. We've spoken a number of times in this series about change and how it is the only constant. So what is ahead? What will you and I be doing in 10, 15 or 20 years from now? How will property be transacted? What will be the role of the real estate agent? Honestly, we can guess. We can think we know, but we have to realise that we have got to be ready for change, to adapt and get comfortable with being challenged and being uncomfortable. We talked to Karuna Dimelow from Karuna's Group about the future, and as the next generation, I'm keen to hear how she sees it. That in just a moment.
I still think real estate agents are very relevant. I think that with tech now, I think you can utilise it to create a better customer experience and a better customer journey and to help support your prospecting. But I think that the emotional state when you're transacting a home, whether you're a buyer or a seller, it still needs a human. And I don't think that any chat bots or live chat, it always gets passed over to a phone call or sitting in a lounge room, and I think that's never going to be taken away. I think high touch is probably more important than ever, and the reason I probably say that as well is that I think that there's a lot of the younger generations, especially now, that are sitting behind screens. They're using email for communication, they're using text for communication, they're using Messenger, WhatsApp, with Slack, whatever other ways of communicating they can find. And I think that people want to see you belly to belly. They want to look in your eyes and they want to know that you're doing the right thing for them. And I think that the only way you can do it, effectively communicate, is by conversation or by sitting with someone. And I don't think that's going to change. So I think they're still going to be very relevant. I think that tech can play a part in the future of the office and an agent by supporting them to actually do, as I said before, either more time or more volume. But I think there's obviously, Google assistants that are going to come at some, stage that are obviously, working in some places now where they might be, the first point of call for an, administrator on your office. I think that the way we're changing with our hubs, I think you don't need as big a real estate footprint anymore, and you can have more people working out of multiple locations. People can work more remotely, and I think tech has helped that. I think it's given more flexibility for you to spend time with your kids and still do real estate from anywhere in the world, and we wouldn't have had these things without it being facilitated by technology. So I think there's some great advancements that have happened in our industry that actually creates a better lifestyle for vendor, buyer and agent. I think that with live chat and bots, they can be the first communication for real-time conversation if they're wanting to know some information immediately. I think there's lots of things that are going to help with the future of real estate. I don't know what it's obviously going to look like in 20 years. I probably wouldn't have thought that from now 2000 to 2020 next year was going to look the way it did. That 20 years has gone very, very fast, and I'm obviously scared that the next 20 years is going to go even faster. But I still don't think that human element is going to change, and I think that's still a very important part of our industry. I don't know if I see it as a shift in power, to be quite honest. I think that when I look back, so when I started in real estate, they might have not had everything at their fingertips. You might have not been able to look up every single sale or go onto the portals and look at the bottom of the property that you're looking at and say these are the relevant sales to that home. Or that information as readily as available as it is now. And I think transparency is a great thing. I think everyone wants transparency now. I think how it's probably changed is that buyers back then used to have to do a lot more legwork, or vendors before they put the property on the market. They'd have to go to more inspections, they'd have to go to more open homes, they'd have to talk to more agents. Now they can jump on the internet and they can do that without actually having a conversation. But I still think they knew the market extremely well and they knew what they thought was fair value, and I still think as an agent you needed to negotiate for your vendor and get the best possible outcome. I think what it's done now is that you know all the information, they know all the information, so you can actually be very well prepared on how you're going to negotiate that property and what probably objections you're going to see before they've actually come to you. So I actually think it's given us probably a better place of transparency, knowing that everyone can see it, because before buyers could be able to bring you information that you may not have known yourself, and they might have known the market better than you did. So I think that it's fair play, and as an agent you have to know your core market, your business back to front, and you need to be able to get the buyer to see better value in the vendor's home, because that's what you get paid for. There obviously has been changes already with the payment of properties. I don't know about cryptocurrency, because I think that it's still very volatile, and I don't know how that could obviously happen in the future, but I don't see now as that being a major change. I know that we tried to sell a couple of properties with cryptocurrency over the past, it's probably been year and a half, and the only offers that we did receive were by cash. And so it didn't work the way that we had anticipated at the time, but we're obviously trying to be early adopters and change with the market, and test things out and see how they go. There's lots of things that are happening now though. I mean, I know that we have a conveyancing business, and you can get, if it's about instant money, PEX is there now, which is transfers the funds to the parties on the same day, which we never had those available changes. So I think as a agent, you need to be all over this stuff. You nearly need to be an expert in everything, knowing the changes that are going on. I mean, we would have never thought as a real estate business that we'd have a conveyancing business that was top in the top 5 in Queensland for PEXA transactions. So we've been another early adopter on that as well, and trying to make a better customer experience by using that, because it was very antiquated. I mean, having to draw checks on settlement day, and some vendors not getting their deposits and all those sorts of things, it was ridiculous really. But now the banks have made a lot of changes, and I think that everyone needs to get on board with adopting those changes. If people do view real estate as a luxury service, I definitely think that there's going to be a reduction of agents and agencies. And the reason that I think that is, I don't know if it's because of it's a luxury service or because there's been so much change in the marketplace. I think that if you're good at what you do as an agent, you will be seen as adding value every time. But I think if you think that you can walk in, get a listing now or make a sale like you used to, there's a lot of people that are struggling now, because you've got to make more phone calls to get the same amount of listings. You've got to get more listings to make the same amount of sales. The good people will take bigger market share, and other people will drop out because they won't know how to compete in this market. And I think that's where it comes back to that communication, knowing your market, and being the person that's adding value to the vendors and the buyers, because I think that there will be a lot of change with price reductions, those conversations, harder listing presentations, more competitive pricing, and I think that you've got to look at what is your value proposition and how are you going to combat that. So yes, I do think there will be a reduction in agencies and agents if they don't adapt.